Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Zayin Ministries. Thank you very much for listening. So today on Abba Father's calendar, it is the 12th of Tammuz, 5782, and we are leading in to the 17th of Tammuz, which was a fast day. But that fast day is being acknowledged on the 18th of Tammuz because Shabbat, it falls on the day of Shabbat. And Shabbat is a glorious day. And there is no fasting on the Shabbat. Only praising Abba Father, eating and just praising. So I will open with a prayer as I'm going to be reading from the Bibles of Israel by permission. They are a wonderful resource that you can subscribe to their website, biblesforisrael.com. So I will just open with a prayer. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Vayed. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Praise be his name and his glorious sovereignty forever and ever. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be upon your heart, and you shall teach them thoroughly to your children when you sit in your house, when you walk on the road, when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them for a sign on your arm, and they shall be tefillin between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. And Yeshua was asked about the Shema in Deuteronomy, Mark and Luke, and he replied, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. That is the first and greatest commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And Yeshua replied, the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbour as yourself. And upon these two commandments hinge all the 613 of them written in Abba Father's word. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart always find favour before you, Abba Father, that your will be done during this reading. Amen ve'amen. So an annual 3-week period of mourning, the destruction of the Holy Temple, as well as the ongoing exile of the Jewish people, begins this week on the 17th of the Hebrew month of Tammuz. The 17th of Tammuz is a minor fast day, marking the date when the Romans breached the walls of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Although the 17th of Tammuz falls on Saturday, the dawn to dusk fast, Zayin Tammuz, to lament the breaching of the walls, will be observed on Sunday instead of the Shabbat, because of the joyfulness of Shabbat, which excludes fasting. This mourning period ends on the 9th of Av, the saddest day of the Jewish year, the date when both the first and the second temples were destroyed. The 3-week period is called Between the Straits, the Dire Straits, based on Lamentations 1:3. Judah went into exile because of affliction and great servitude. She settled among the nations and found no rest. All her pursuers overtook her between the boundaries, between the straits of distress and pain. Lamentations 1:3. The Jewish sages explained that these straits, or pronounced Zayin, represent the fast days of the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av, which bookend this 3 weeks of affliction. However, the heteronym, the Mitzarim, Hebrew for Egypt, also recalls the Israelites' 400 year of affliction under Pharaoh, giving added meaning to this time. As well, this 21-day period between the two fasts in Tammuz and Av serves as a mourning period, since it has historically seen a great decree of misfortune and calamity for the Jewish people, including the breaking of the tablets of the law of Moses, the burning of the Sefer Torah by Apostomus during the Second Temple era, and the destruction of both temples and the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492. The siege of Jerusalem and the temple's destructions during these 3 weeks remain associated with a sense of divine judgment. Because of that, it prompts Jewish people to avoid possible dangers throughout the period, including visiting dangerous places, flights, and major operations. The lead up to the destruction. I called to my allies, but they betrayed me. My priests and my elders perished in the city while they searched for food to keep themselves alive. See, Lord, how distressed I am. I am in torment within, and in my heart I am disturbed, for I have been most rebellious. Outside the sword bereaves, inside there is only death. Lamentations 1:19-20. At the outset, under Roman occupation, the affliction and great servitude God's people had known were made worse by the prominent idolatry of Rome, which defied and worshipped its emperors. For example, only a few decades before Jerusalem's destruction, in 37 to 41 AD, Gaius Caesar, called Caligula, sought to erect an idol of himself in Solomon's temple. Out of Roman Jewish religious tensions, the Jewish political party known as the Zealots, of which Yeshua's apostle Simon was a member, Matthew 10:4, employed violence and anti-taxation protests to shake the yoke of the Rome's invasive rule. The Romans responded in 66 AD with the execution of 6,000 Jews in Jerusalem and the plundering, but not the total destruction of the temple. The conflict fanned the First Jewish-Roman War, or the Great Revolt. On the one side were the Roman legions, including 30,000 strong Syrian legions. So the legions of the Syrians and the Romans together, and on the other were several Jewish factions, the Zealots, as well as the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Idumeans, and the Sirachai, or with volunteers from Adiabene, an ancient Assyrian kingdom whose rulers converted to Judaism in the 1st century. The revolt saw great infighting among the Jewish factions with Jerusalem, while Rome attacked from without, breaching the first 2 of Jerusalem's 3 wars in early 70 AD, and the 3rd wall on the 17th of Tammuz, and then Antonia fortress near the temple. Titus, the son of then Emperor Vespasian and commander-in-chief of Rome's Jewish campaign, led the devastating siege. Following the breach, Titus slaughtered most of Jerusalem's residents and razed its buildings. By the 9th of Av, the Romans had reached the temple and had devastated the physical point of contact between heaven and earth, the Second Temple. Yeshua had prophesied this very destruction less than 50 years earlier. As Yeshua was leaving the temple, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings. Do you see all these great buildings?" Replied Yeshua, "Not one of stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." Mark 13:1-2. The practice of grief. During Shabbat services throughout the 3 weeks, Jewish congregations will read the prophetic Haftorah portions of scriptures from Isaiah and Jeremiah that speak of the temple's destruction and the exile of the Jewish nation. Despite that, on Shabbat the focus is one of faith and hope. Every Shabbat constitutes a foretaste of the Messianic era. As such, on Shabbat, we only focus on the positive element of this period, states the Shabbat website, noting that the constraints of the 3 weeks which are associated with mourning are lifted on the Shabbat. Nevertheless, this is a mourning period, and during these 21 days, rejoicing is lessened, just as it would be if we were mourning a loved one. Observant Jews will not listen to music or hold weddings and other celebrations. They will also avoid entertaining activities and trips that would provoke joy, and they will not shave or cut their hair. And the period of mourning deepens with the start of the new month of Av. During the first 9 days of Av, observant Jews will not buy anything new which brings joys, plant flowers and trees, or make home improvements. They will also avoid washing clothes and wearing freshly washed clothes, bathing for pleasure, permitting bathing for hygiene in cool water, and eating meat and drinking wine. As Jewish people avoid potential dangers during the 3 weeks, they especially avoid risks during the 9 days of Av, including litigation with non-Jews because of the potential disadvantages it might bring. From not feeling much bereavement on the 9th of Av, the climax of mourning for the temple, Baruch internalized some of the meaning of Tishrei Av as he returned home to sit Shiva after his family, his brother and father and sister-in-law perished in a terrible plane crash. So Baruch internalized some of the meaning of Tishrei Av as he returned home to sit Shiva, the first stage of mourning for the dead, which means sitting Shiva for 7 days with their family to help with the grieving process. So a Rabbi Roth, attending rabbis at the mourning's home, would tell him, "You've had your own personal destruction and you know how mourning feels. Perhaps you, with your heartfelt mourning, will be the one to bring the rebuilding of the temple and the Jewish nation nearer." There is more to the 3 weeks than fasting and lamentations. Our sages tell us that those who mourn the destruction of Jerusalem will merit seeing it rebuilt with the coming of the Mashiach, the Messiah. May that day come soon, and then all the mournful dates of the calendar will be transformed into days of tremendous joy and happiness. Hear his word, people of Israel, the word the Lord has spoken against you, against the whole family I brought up out of Egypt. You only have I chosen of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your sins. Amos 3:1-2. The 3 weeks inspire great thought about individual and national shortcomings that led and have led Adonai to punish the nation. Rabbi Yehuda Perot recalls the stories of the Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who saw the destruction of the temple and the devastation to its inhabitants. Yochanan knew that such a terrible tragedy could only occur through the hand of God. Knowing that God is nearby can and should be a source of comfort during times of pain. Perot continues, pain and suffering are not the result of God's deserting us. Punishment of a parent is to be out of love for the child, and should pain the parent as much as it pains the child. Although the child suffers, if he or she recognizes that this punishment was done out of love, there is some comfort. Pharaoh also reasserts rabbinic sentiment that Israel's lot is not a state of mediocrity, but of completion. It therefore can experience fantastic heights, as in the rebirth of the nation, or a horrendous downfall, as in the destruction of both temples. Indeed, the fast of Tammuz falls 40 days after the feast of Shavuot, when Moses received the 10 Commandments. Amen, amen. On Har, Mount Sinai. Like other 40-day periods in the Bible, this one closes with the opportunity to bring forth a new creation. A fast day is not only a sad day, but an opportune day. It's a day when we are empowered to fix the cause of that destruction, so that our long exile will be ended and we will find ourselves living in messianic times. May that be very soon. Amen, amen. We have an opportunity to strengthen our relationship with Abba Father. We have an opportunity to start our climb to greatness. These 21 days, therefore, compel the Jewish nation to seek and return to God, the God of Israel, and to his calling, even as the prophetic Isaiah announced. But that's not just the Jewish nation, it's us also who are engrafted in to the Jewish nation. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age of old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. Isaiah 58:12. The mournful meditations of the Jewish nation during the 3 weeks allow for deeper soul searching and teshuva, which means repentance. With this is the knowledge that God longs to revive the Jewish people. This is what the High and Exalted One says. He will live forever, whose name is holy. I live in a high and holy place, but also with the one who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and to revive the heart of the contrite. I will not accuse them forever, nor will I always be angry, for then they would faint away because of me, the very people I have created. Isaiah 57:15-16. As the Jewish people entered the 3-week period of serious teshuva, many Jews also think on the coming of the Messiah. Our prayers for peace in Israel and for our Jewish people, that they might find their Messiah, will be answered. You can play a role in God's end time plans by making intercession for Israel and the Jewish people during these next 3 weeks, and by standing with the work of this ministry, which is BiblesForIsrael.com, and of course for my ministry, Zayin Ministries. Amen, amen. Isaiah 62:6-7. I have posted watchmen on your walls, Jerusalem. They will never be silent day or night. You who call on the Lord, give yourselves no rest, and give him no rest till he establishes Jerusalem and make her the praise of the earth. Amen, amen. Isaiah 62:6-7. Thank you, Abba Father. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart always find favour to you. And I will leave you with this prayer. May the Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his shalom, his peace. Thank you very much for listening to Zayin Ministries. If this has blessed you, please donate to BiblesForIsrael.com and all my Zayin Branch Ministries. We are fundraising for a Sukkah for the Sukkot period in October, for the 5783. the glorious Feast of Tabernacles. Thank you very much for listening. Shalom.